Cubs fans, and welcome to another episode of Cubs on Tap. Today, we have me talking, Nick at Nick_on_tap, and Tyler at Teddy Freddy 270. Late night show. We didn't have one yesterday to recap the Pittsburgh series, which was the first two games sucked and then ended on a high note. But yeah, we're going to get into that, and then we're going to get into the return, finally, of Anthony Rizzo coming back to the friendly confines. That'll be a little bit later in the show. Save the best for last. We got some other stuff to get to. So in the meantime, before then, guys, how we doing? Nick, start with you. How you doing, man?
I'm doing okay, man. Doing okay. This series was pretty disappointing coming off back-to-back sweeps. I was hoping in coming home with the momentum it would be very different, so I'm a little disappointed, but doing okay. Excited to dissect this one.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely excited to dissect it. And, we just watched a pretty crazy football game there, too. So we're coming in here. Football's back. It's kind of a beautiful time of year. I feel like just hopefully the Cubs can kind of hang around here in the postseason hunt. But Tyler, man, how the hell are you? I feel like I just talked to you finally after not talking.
Man, I know. Yeah, we go from not seeing or talking to each other for like, I don't know, half the season, and then we back-to-back weeks. Here we are. No, I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, I just finished watching the football game as well. Like, I didn't watch much football last year, but this year I'm somehow in a fantasy football league, and so yeah, I've got to watch football now. But did that. Middle of that, I'm packing. I just finished packing for this weekend. I'm headed to Chicago. I hear, this real popular, famous former Cub player that's going to be there this weekend. Excited about that. Me and the wife are going, but yeah, I'm just hoping we can catch maybe a little bit of luck here close to the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm hoping, man. I'm hoping it'll be fun. It'll be a great time for you being there at the game on Saturday, and yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this.
More than luck. I'm hoping they really just pull something out of their butthole. To be honest,
it's like it kind of feels like
it's going to be more. It's got to be more than luck.
Yeah, it's got to be a little more than luck.
It's got to be more than luck, and unfortunately,
but you do need luck too.
That's right. You're right.
Baseball gods, man. You just got to go like this every once in a while, whether you believe or not. You just got to put your hands together, point them to the sky, unless you like to do the the folding method too. I guess it's still to the sky. But anyways, yeah, man, I'm excited for this series. Tyler, you're gonna have a great time on Saturday. I will be there tomorrow with my dad and his buddy, driving them in, playing a little bit of chauffeur, but also enjoying myself too. We're going to get into the Rizzo talk. Trust me, we will get there. Tyler, you're talking about being in a fantasy league. I made the dumb decision tonight to sit Xavier Worthy on my bench, which he had a 2-touchdown game, and that really pissed me off. By the way, the guy who we're going to get into from like a sour note and a bad news standpoint in a little bit, Justin Steele is a huge fantasy football guy, I guess. Like, he's on podcasts. So they're like he's doing his own podcast now for like DFS and like fantasy football. So I would love to pick his brain, especially in the off season.
Oh yeah, he came out with a video. I believe it was a Cubs video, and he named the running back. He said the RB1 by the end of the season, I believe, is Hall from the Jets. And that was my number one pick. Ooh. So Justin Steele just told me that I'm going to have the best running back in fantasy this year. So I'm excited. I'm winning. I'm winning my league now. Forget
it. If Justin Steele says it, I believe it. So
yeah, for sure.
I think you're winning your league. That's a really good number one overall or number one pick for you. But this is not a fantasy football show, not yet, anyways. But when Steele gets on, it will be. Guys, we got to talk about this series before anything else. The results, not so good. So game one, they're up 3-0 late. Jorge Lopez gets into the game, who he's had that groin issue going on, and really hasn't pitched too much recently. And he's been dynamite for the Cubs since they picked him up. He's been excellent, but he didn't have it. He got crushed. 3-run bomb, I believe it was Brian Reynolds who jacked that one out, and then Kutch, of course, breaks the tie. Andrew McCutchen, his old ass, still killing the Cubs. Cubs wind up losing that game late, which was really frustrating. Really frustrating. You got a great outing from that was the Tyon game, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Tyon pitched his ass off. I thought he could have went a little bit deeper in the game myself, but neither here nor there. Jorge Lopez has been really good outside of this injury and this outing. So was this just a bad game for him? Like, that's what I'm wondering, or is he hurt, or what's going on there? But guys, your thoughts on game one, where they really had this one in the bag up until late and wound up blowing it. Frustrating game one.
Yeah, it was a super disappointing game one. I mean, especially because you had the lead in the late innings there. You felt real good about it. As you said, Jorge Lopez has been dynamite. So when the move happened, I really didn't question it at all. But like you said, he's dealing with something there, nagging at him. So that could have affected it, but he didn't have his stuff. I mean, he was due for a clunker, but he definitely did not have his stuff. And as you said, Cutchin, I just shook my head at the TV. I just literally just shook my head when that happened because
Of course,
I knew it was going to happen. I knew it. So it was really disappointing in game one. And I think that actually had a carryover effect into game two, unfortunately, because it was that late inning deflating loss that you don't want to have, especially at home when you have all that momentum and the crowd behind you. It's just real disappointing.
Yeah, man. Tyler, what were you thinking living through that? Just
Well, like
bad.
you can't. I don't blame Council on taking out Tyon when he did, just because this second half for Tyon hasn't been the best. It's been nothing like his first half. So when you get 7 innings, no runs, you've got 6 outs left to get 3-run lead. I can't sit here and yell at Craig Counsell for taking out Jameson. I know right after, as soon as Reynolds hit the game tying home run, everybody on Twitter was just like, "Oh my gosh, how could you do that? Jameson was dealing, blah blah blah." And it's like, well, you know what? You could also argue that, you know what, luck's not the word, I guess, but Jameson. I mean, the fact that he had 7 innings of no-run baseball, when, like I said, his second half hasn't been the best, I don't blame him. And like you guys have both said, Lopez has been lights out in August. I want to say, did Lopez hit the IL the next day after that game? I feel like I may have read that. Now that y'all say that, that he may not have, but
he could have.
Again, like you guys said,
it.
It just wasn't his night. Hell, I tweeted it that night it happened. Like 1 second you're up 3-0, and then 8 pitches later you're down 4-3, and that really felt just like a big gut punch as far as their playoff chances coming off.
Tyler, he did go on the IL. Yeah,
gotcha. I thought I saw he had gone on the IL, so something must have been something must have been wrong physically in that game. But it just felt like such a gut punch after sweeping the Nationals, coming in on Monday night. You beat Jared Jones last week. You got him this week. You get him on Monday. You're winning 3-0. You feel like, man, the ball's going to keep rolling. And yeah, just a big kick in the nuts. And of course, like Nick said, it had to be freaking McCutchen. It just had to be him, right? And yeah, it just sucked.
Yeah, very frustrating game. And I think, like you make a lot of good points there too. 89 pitches at that point in the game, and I think it was like the 4th time through the order. So like I do understand the pull there too for a guy like Lopez, but it just sucks when that's the result. When you wouldn't expect 3 runs or 4 runs in that case given up. But yeah, definitely sucked. Game 2, kind of Nick, like what you were saying, the momentum part of it. Just wasn't there. They didn't have the momentum going into that game against Mr. Skeens, who, Tyler, you said this, off air, but Cubs couldn't capitalize. They couldn't capitalize in some
They could not.
situations where they put them in jeopardy, and they just couldn't pull the trigger, couldn't come through. Quickly before we talk about this game, though, one good thing about the game one, Dansby staying
Yeah,
hot with
for sure.
that home run. So very nice to see there. But yeah, Skeens, and they didn't get anything. Wound up the entire game, no runs, 5 hits. Hendricks was a little bit better than he was last time, and the Cubs still just couldn't get it done. But yeah, guys, thoughts on game 2?
It was another kick in the nuts because Paul Skeens, the great and powerful Paul Skeens that we've heard about all season long, the supposed, for a lot of people, the supposed rookie of the year, NL rookie of the year for some people, not everybody, but some people, the hot girlfriend, the beautiful hair, everything. He comes in for the 4th time. This is another thing I forgot. I don't know if this has ever happened, at least with a rookie. This was the 2nd time this season that Paul Skeens had faced Chicago in back-to-back starts. 2nd time. And it's almost like this time, this 4th time, they sort of had his number, it felt like at the beginning, because they was making him work a lot. Like, I want to say he threw nearly 30 pitches in that 1st inning, got in a bases-loaded jam, got out of it. I believe it was the second or 3rd inning. They had runners on 1st and 3rd, less than two outs. Ian Happ's up, strikes out in a huge AB that could have been a momentum shifter. He didn't have his stuff like he normally does. He was still good. I mean, I know he only threw 5 innings, but still had 6 strikeouts with 4 walks. Really just felt like they made him work and work and work for those 5 innings. And yeah, just didn't get crap out of it. And that just back-to-back nights of just getting kicked in the nuts. And I want to say at least one of those nights, maybe both of those nights, 2 of the teams you're chasing in the wild card both win. So it just sucks. And yeah, Kyle Hendricks threw a lot better than I thought he was going to. I even said it maybe that night, like, is Kyle the right choice for this start? And he did his part. He did his job.
Yeah, it's good to see.
Yeah, 100%. I agree about Kyle Hendricks. You can't waste a Hendricks start like that, 2 earned runs, 5 innings. Like, you can't waste that. So it's even more frustrating and deflating of a loss. But that is like the plan you have to have with Skeens, is make him work, run up his pitch count, especially if he's on. That's your only hope, is to get him out of the game. Maybe you get chances with runners in scoring position, and you got to take advantage, and they obviously couldn't do that. So, yeah, it's disappointing. When that happened, the playoffs just felt very, very far away, because, like you said, other teams won that night. So it's just, it's deflating.
Yeah, it was losing 2 or 3 in this series. The 3rd game, obviously, complete 180, 12-0. Cubs with the combined no-hitter, Shota 7 no-hit innings, and then followed up by Nate Pearson and Porter Hodge. The 12-0 game. That was the first time the Cubs have gotten a no-hitter at Wrigley Field since 1972, which is pretty insane to think about. And first time since 1990, a team gave up no hits and committed at least 3 errors. Thank you, Baseball Reference, for that stat. And they were all Isaac Paredes. So thank you for making the guy work a little harder. Maybe he would have had a chance to get that no-hitter. He had 95 pitches. He was pulled out of the game. But before we get to that guy, because I know you guys are going to have thoughts about that, the offense absolutely lit it up in this game, finally coming to life in this series. Happ 2 for 4 with a run, 2 ribbies. Bush 1 for 4 with a run. Suzuki 2 for 4 with a run. 2 for 4 with 2 runs, 2 ribbies, and a bomb for Mr. Cody Bellinger. That was in the 6th inning. Horner 3 for 4 with 2 runs. 1 for 1 with a ribby for Mastroboni off the bench. Swanson and Pete Crow Armstrong each had 3 hits, and they went back-to-back with home runs. Each had 3 RBIs. Each scored 2 runs. They were dynamite at the bottom of that order. as we've come to see here lately. But the big story in this game, I mean, the 12 runs are incredible, but Tyler, you know this guy very well. Nick, I know you know this guy very well. Shota is.
He is him, fellers. And when I say he is him, you guys know. But there's probably still people out there, maybe because he's being covered up and hidden by that freaking Skeens dude and his hot girlfriend. And there's other rookies out there that are being, shoved in front of this guy. But when I say he is him, I'm talking Shota! Yeah, we've been saying it since day one. The very first game of this season, all of us sit in the stands and we saw it from day one. There's video proof. We sit there and talked about it. This guy, man, wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't win the NL Rookie of the Year. He should. But of
100%.
course, there's Paul Skeens and there's Jackson Merrill, and I'm sure there's somebody else I'm leaving out. But this guy, he leads the NL. He leads all rookies in innings pitched. He leads all rookies in WHIP. He let's see here. He's third in the National League in wins. He's second in walks per nine. He doesn't walk many people. He doesn't at all. I mean, you've watched his outings. His first half was just nasty. I know, I get it. You're not going to have a sub-1 ERA all season long, but for a guy to come over from a completely different league, and I myself had questions about him. I think a lot of people did. I think most people did. And to just come out and still continue to do what he's done all season long, a sub-3 ERA. Last night was just another reminder. The only that really stink, well, two things. One, like you said, Paredes. Come on, man. Like, come on. Maybe you're listening. Maybe you're not. But if you are, like, come on, dude. Come on.
And your defense is supposed to be better than Morales. Like, what are we doing?
Exactly. And also, you asked us before the show, and this may be a good time to ask, as far as our thoughts on whether or not he should have been left in. Here's what stinks is he went and asked Shota, talking about Craig Counsell, went and asked Shota after that seventh inning if he's apparently he didn't even know he had a no going. And I just wish, because he's thrown more than 95 pitches in a game.
Oh yeah.
And
he's done that in Japan for sure, right?
Exactly.
Like, for sure. And maybe Counsell was looking at it as I've got to save him. We're up 12-0 or whatever it was at the time, 11-0. And maybe there's this chance that we're going to need him because we just lost. I see both sides to it. It just sucks because it was just 95 pitches. Because you just lost Justin Steele for 15 days. But, man, I wish he would have at least thrown him for one more inning. Maybe just one more inning. And, but yeah, he's just been awesome all season long. The dude's getting NL Rookie of the Year votes for sure. And, yeah, it would have been nice to see him go just one more inning.
100% agree with you.
Still, I will say real quick though, still of the offseason, when you look at what he's done this year and the contract that he got.
Hands down, dude. Take away, some of the crazy strikeout numbers that other guys can put up there. He still strikes out plenty of guys, and he has pitched like an ace. Hank Rodriguez here in the comments says, Shota changes speed and location like an artist out there. He truly does. Nick, I got thoughts on this, but I want to hear your thoughts first, man. What were your thoughts on the Shota performance? And, like Ty was saying, did they pull him a little early or what were you thinking when this was happening?
Sure, yeah. No, I definitely think that they pulled him a little early. I wanted them to stretch him just a little more. Like Tyler said, one more inning, 94 pitches, get him to at least 105 or just see what the eighth inning could look like. But then again, there's the whole other side to it where you want to preserve the pitcher. It's such a large lead. You could just comfortably, you know, put in another guy and be comfortable that his arm is going to be safe. But overall, Shota just continues to be, as Tyler said, him. He really is. Before we started the season, I picked him as the standout guy because in spring training, when I watched him, I watched like every start, every pitch he had. And just what Hank was saying, he's like an artist. The way he can change and his late life on the fastball too is really what stands out to me is like he gets so much late life on that fastball that guys just can't catch up to. It looks a lot faster than what it actually is
Yeah.
because the way he throws it, and then he's got other pitches to totally change the level there. So he is really really impressive. I think he is the steal of the offseason for sure. He definitely puts a feather in Jed's cap there because that was a great pickup along with Michael Bush as well. But yeah, it was really good. With the game itself and the series, I thought that this was a perfect metaphor for the offense because you could have it where the inconsistency is what's killed this offense and this team really. And all season long, they'll show just flashes of greatness, like this game, putting up 17 hits, a combined no hitter, and then there's other games, other times where they look dead out there. So the inconsistency has really killed us, but Shota has stayed consistent, and that's what I really like because he's just been that guy that you can rely on no matter what. 12-3 record, like he just goes out there and he gets you wins, and that's what you really need.
Dude, they win almost every time he pitches. It's pretty insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely agree with everything you're saying there, man. Like
I will kind of like it's not like a deep dive question. It's just how different though, because I know we're going to talk about playoffs and stuff like that here in a minute, but how different would we be feeling right now if, let's say, this was flip-flopped and this third game was the first game of the series and they throw that no-no and then turn around and then lose back-to-back games?
we feel like shit.
Yeah, we'd feel
like,
way worse.
Because I'll be honest, I think it's obvious between the three of us and most Cubs fans that are like really into every single game are fans' confidence, as far as the confidence isn't super high, but like if this was flip-flopped and let's say they throw this no-no on Monday and then the next two games this happens how it turns out, as far as let's say they lose 5-0. Let's just say game 1 and game 3 was flip-flop. You can keep the middle game where it's at, and then that third game is the game that they blow. Then I think I agree. I think it's a completely different narrative. It's an even worse narrative than maybe the way people are feeling right now. But it was just, I was thinking about that last night. I was just like, gosh, like how crazy would it have been if this would have been the game 1?
It's a great point because that just goes to show you how much fan bases mood swings from a day-to-day basis, right? Like it really does.
That just goes, you throw that in with the grind of 162 games. And it's easy it's easy to get pissed off and rightfully so, because it's a 162 game season. But then at the same time, you guys are the same way. You can see where people are coming from though, when after one game with 30 games left in the season, or one game with, after one game with 2 months left in the season, I can still see where certain people, where people are coming from when maybe they're just screaming at the sky right now and stuff like that. Like, I can understand it. And we may be getting close, depending on how these next games go. We'll talk about it, to that point where, and we may be already there, of just being just pissed off at this fan base, or not this fan base, but pissed off at this team, pissed off at ownership, front office, whatever you want to call it, We may be there. I don't know. But yeah, I was just thinking about that last night as far as if those two games had been flip-flopped.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. And I also think too, like, the one thing that would keep me on like somewhat positive, even though you needed to win a series. Like, you need sweeps at this point and you need series wins. So like it's still a
Yeah.
loss in my book as a whole.
Oh yeah, for
Overall,
sure.
it's a disappointing series.
It
Like,
is. You're right.
you scope the lens out, it's a disappointing series. Like,
For
it
sure.
really is. But if you look at it and you say, okay, it's a Paul Skeens start on Wednesday. Fine. They didn't get any runs. They didn't score really that many runs on Monday either. But if they were to flip flop, then maybe you're thinking, oh, the offense is starting to cool down from this hot stretch. But the fact that they were able to score as many runs on the last game, to me, it's like, okay, now maybe the offense isn't cooled down yet. It's just they went through a little bit of a, 1-2 game kind of little mini hump there. So like, there's so many different ways that you can look at this. And I think that's what the beauty is about baseball too, really. And this team is like the hardest team that I can remember. One of the hardest teams I can remember to actually pinpoint where they are as a team, what they are as a team. Like,
That is a
tough.
very different. If you would ask somebody, what is this? Who are the 2024 Cubs? It would be a real head scratcher because, like you said, Nick, they've had moments this season of just amazing offense, shutdown pitching. Haven't ever really been able to put it all together. The bullpen has been a humongous roller coaster. We've talked about it forever. Hell, we were at some of the games and just spoke it into existence as far as like bullpen blowing the game. I will say, not to again because we've got all off season. My confidence isn't super high, and let's say this team doesn't make the playoffs. It's a failure. One, it's a failure.
Mm-hmm.
And two, it may go down as out of all the teams in 2024 with maybe the expectations that they had coming into this season could possibly be the biggest failure. I mean, the Braves are close, but again, with the Braves, the thing about the Braves is they have so many more injuries. You lose your ace before the season even starts.
Yeah.
You lose your superstar, after the first month of the season. You lose your all-star second baseman. You lose your all-star third baseman. There you go. With this team, other than you lose Steele at the beginning of the year, he's out right now too. Other than that, you lose Alzolay, but Alzolay was kind of struggling at the beginning of the year. Other than that, you really didn't lose much as far as injury. It was just a lot of disappointment throughout the year. So, again, and this series, going back to what you said, Nick, this series is kind of just there's a lot of, there's some good, but mostly bad, which is, I guess, what this season's been so far.
That's what it's been. It's frustrating, man. They're a tough team to gauge.
For sure.
If I had, I do have some thoughts about Shota's performance there. Not really the performance, right? Great performance.
Mm-hmm.
No hitter, terrific, awesome. It wasn't a no hitter, but it was 7 no hit innings.
Yeah.
I just hate, man. I hate where the game is going. Like, I hate what it's become in some ways. And I'm going to sound like an old crotchety old man right now. And I know that. But 95 pitches when he's probably done this over in Japan. And Tyler, you brought up a great point too. Steele just went down. He's got elbow soreness. You're trying to prevent him from, possible injury. And
already had Tommy John.
Yeah, so there's a lot that happens there, or there's a lot to factor in here. And the thing is with me though, now I look at this team, and you lost 2 games out of 3 in this series. How they're 4 games back at this point to me is magical. But are they even really in contention at 4 games out? I'm still questioning myself with that. Even if this is are we prepping for ultimate just letdown at the end. Like, is it preserving him long term? If that's the case, then I'm for it. But if it's preserving him for this season, it's like, well, I don't really know if that's even like a thing right now. So I'm like questioning myself and what I can even think about that. But the other part of it is there is no scientific evidence that says if you throw 110 pitches versus 95 pitches, you are more likely to get Tommy John surgery or need Tommy John surgery. So I'm like, it's all of this stuff factoring in, especially when he had his was career high in the majors this year, or whatever, season high and career high in the big leagues is what, like 104 or something like that. Like, he was still kind of in that realm. So I'm like, man, just let these guys go for it. Like, you don't think that would have made his entire season? You think he came to the big leagues? Yes, he came to the big leagues to get a big fat paycheck. Don't get it twisted. But, from what he was making before. But this guy came to the big leagues to win. He is not on a winner right now. Like, yes, you're over 500, but you're not on a winner. So, like, if you're going to go out and have something to, like, look back on the season and be like, damn, that was awesome. A no-hitter will do that. Like, a no-hitter, like, not many guys can say they got a no-hitter on the look at Edwin Jackson, 100 and whatever, 500 pitches it took him to get a no-hitter. And I'm not saying we should go back to that era, but I'm like, man, let these guys stretch out a little bit. Like,
I think
is it that unheard of to get 120? If you maintain your body, like, it's not even like a Shota thing specific. It's a baseball thing that just like irritates the absolute shit out of me.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure I'm sure a lot of the players, like a lot of pitchers right now, are probably, they want to go back out there and do that. I think the game, it's turned into a point now where pitchers, it sucks to say this, but like pitchers are viewed their investments. I've got this much money in this guy, and who knows, maybe some of the managers are just pulled back from from the front office or ownership or whoever, because it's like, we've got this investment in this guy. Let's be smart here, come on, or you know what I mean? Like, maybe that's part of it. I don't know, because
I think that's a big part of it, Tyler. You're right.
And it sucks to say that, I get it. They've been like this since, baseball started, but just up until these last just few years, it's almost more of like they're looked at as pieces of property, and yeah, it just sucks because a lot of them right now, they would love to go back out into that 8th, 9th inning to finish stuff out. They would, my arm's good, but we're just so many teams and so many people are just surrounded by, now we've got all these statistics and blah blah blah, and it's almost like feel of the game and instincts and all that kind of stuff is kind of put on the back burner and not really thought of anymore. I mean, you can, what's his name for the Rays? Was it Kevin Cash that took out Blake Snell because, well, the statistics say blah blah blah, this and this and this, and he's not very effective.
That was in the playoffs, right?
That was in the playoffs. Yeah, and they ended up losing and stuff like that. So yeah, it sucks to see, man, but I just unfortunately feel like it may get worse for all we know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. This is like, that could be an entire episode. So we'll we'll put somewhat of a bow on that for now. But I want to circle back and talk about some of that stuff in future episodes. But we got to talk about the big news that dropped this week. Justin Steele, 15-day IL with elbow soreness. This is never what you want to see. Friend of the program, dealing with an injury here, which, elbow soreness could lead to other major injuries, which we never want to see. And of course, with the ace of your team going down right now, especially, but anytime, like, this is a brutal loss for the Cubs, and just hope that he can make a speedy recovery. I'll turn it over to you guys with the Justin Steele news. What's your reaction here?
Sadness, pain, anguish, depression, all of them. Because, like you said, I mean, you never want to lose the ace of your staff, but this is the worst possible time. You were clinging to your playoff hopes. And when I saw that, I was like, Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it's over, but it really hurts. Like that really, really hurts. And obviously for Justin, like we all wish him the best and hope he gets well very soon. He's a great guy, but the team itself needs him. Like you need Justin in your rotation. So it's just really sad that coming down to the end here, this final stretch of baseball, that you might be without him for these possibly longer, but hopefully just on the 15-day IL, and then he can come back.
Yep.
Justin, if you're listening, I will cut my left arm off and mail it to wherever I need to send it to. I'll bring it to. I tell you what, I'll be there this weekend. You just hit me up, and whatever you need from my elbow, it. Tell you what, I only hit about 73, 74. That's about all I had in the tank. I don't have that even now. It may be a solid 58, 59, but whatever ligaments you can use, just give me a holler. And yeah, I got you, man. But yeah, it sucks. It absolutely sucks. It feels like, I want to say at the end of the last season, he got shut down for a little bit right close to the end of the season. I remember it also, I believe, Stroman got shut down as well, and it just goes to show, one, this team, you've got as well as Shota has been pitching. I still feel like Justin is the heart and soul of the pitching of the starters, of the starting rotation. He's your guy. He's your horse. This just goes to show, though, and we said it last season. We said it last offseason. We've said it throughout this year. We'll say it this offseason. You've got to add. You've got to spend the money on some more high-end pitching. Like, that'll be a whole conversation in itself. It'll be a whole episode in itself. But I just hope that and it sucks that it has to be this way as far as somebody going down, but I just hope that this is like a wake-up call, even though I know it's not, but I hope this just is just another reason why this offseason, if Jed's still there, hey, maybe I should add some more front-end starters, because this team only goes as far. I get it. They scored 12 runs against the Pittsburgh Pirates last night, but you've got New York and LA the next two series. And this team only goes as far as your starting pitching. I get it. You got to score runs to win. And lately that's how they've been winning. But especially when you get to the playoffs, if you make it to the playoffs, you only go as far as your starting rotation can take you.
Yeah. It
sucks. It sucks to see this. It absolutely sucks, because again, he wants to be there. He wants to be pitching in September as well as October. And yeah, it just absolutely sucks.
It does suck. It sucks. I couldn't really say much more than that. I mean, you never want to see it, and you do need that pitching. Like, the Cubs have been fortunate this year that they've had good enough depth to carry them through for the most part, and they just haven't got the offensive production. But you talk about October, you talk about getting to that final stretch. I mean, I know one of the things that Steele, he's told us on this show, is that one of his goals going into the season is to pitch, get to those innings counts. That's where he's really, mindset wise, is to get. So in that sense too, for him, I feel for him. Like, that's really unfortunate. A guy's goals might possibly not be met. I don't know where he was at innings wise right now in this season, but I want to say he was like 170, 175 is where he wanted to get, or something like that.
Maybe.
So, but it's just, it's frustrating, and it's a huge loss for the team, of course, too. But we'll move on here to kind of get an update. Justin, we hope that you are you get well soon and you can pitch this year. If not this year, then next year, and there's no lingering issues going into next year. But you guys got the standings, I think, pulled up.
Yeah,
who has the playoff update for us?
Yes.
So Chicago, we're 4 games back in the wild card. 4 games back in the wild card. You've got I'm not even going to talk about I'm not even going to talk about the division. But San Diego's got a 3-game lead and in the top spot right now. Then you've got Arizona, who I wouldn't want to play either one of them teams right now. Atlanta and New York are tied. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Since we'll just go ahead and talk about the schedule. Obviously, Chicago's got a big series this weekend. New York. Then they play LA. You've got to win both of those series. And the Braves, obviously, the Braves and the Mets both have to lose. Duh. The Braves right now are about to play, I believe it's Cincinnati, and the Mets are playing the Brewers. No, sorry. Vice versa. The Braves are playing the Blue Jays right now. The Mets are playing the Reds. Then those two teams, all four of those teams, basically just flip-flop. The Braves play the Reds, and then the Mets play the Brewers or the Blue Jays. I may have just absolutely repeated that. But basically, Mets and Braves both play the Blue Jays and the Reds for their next two series each. So you've got to at least win. At the very least, you've got to win the series. You got to at least win the series in these next 6 games. You got to win 4 out of 6. 4 out of 6, and arguably the best two teams in baseball. And you've got to hope to God that the Reds and the Blue Jays can just play spoiler. Which, granted, the Reds just beat the Astros. I want to say they may have just swept the Astros, so there's that.
They did, yep.
They can win games. I mean,
And the Blue Jays, I get it. The Blue Jays have had a disappointing season. Maybe they want to, I don't know, surely they want to finish out the season on a strong note for next year. But yeah, it's going to be tough, and it's not working that good, guys.
Yeah.
That's what, man, that's why the 2 out of 3 losses, if you won one more game in this series, you're 3 games back again.
Yep.
That's
right.
So frustrating. Nick, I'm going to ask Tyler the same question, but I know we got more to get to here. 3 words or less. I'm doing a vibe check. What are the vibes like? What are you feeling for this team making the postseason?
Not great, Bob. Not great, Bob.
There we go, Tyler.
Yeah.
Not confident at all.
I thought you were
I put a hyphen between at and all.
I thought you were going to use like a woman's name this time. Not confident, Karen.
Yeah, I think when there is, I said it to, I believe I said it was either to you or Ron, when there's fewer weeks left in the season than you are games back in the wild card. It's tough, man. It's almost like you're 4 games back with what, a little over 3 weeks left. You just gotta hope to God that 2 of those teams go, between the Mets and both of them, the Mets and the Braves, go on losing streaks, and I don't know. I just don't know if it's gonna happen. It's not really, and who knows? Maybe our negativity here, they'll hear it and be like, you know what, guys, F those guys. We're gonna win it for them. Maybe that's what happens. So
gotta gear them up, Tyler. Gear them up.
Maybe we just started something.
Dude, if they have something to play for I almost said February. I'm skipping to the freaking spring training or reporting to camp. If they have something to play for September 27th on that Friday when I will be there, and Nick, you'll be there. Please, dude, oh man, I will be so excited just for that. Please give us something to play for the last week of the season, last few games of the year. Like that, at this point, with the way the season's gone, that's all I can ask for, man. So I'm hopeful, but it's kind of like, it feels kind of still like a fairy tale at this point. But guys, big news. We got a living legend coming to town. Chicago. I mean, this guy means so much to the city. He means so much to New York now too, but we know this is a legend. Like this, if it's not for Sammy Sosa being my childhood favorite player, Anthony Rizzo is by all means my favorite player. And no, it's not just the Italian thing. although that helps. This guy, he is the Chicago Cubs. When I think about players for the Chicago Cubs, did so much for this team. He was the guy that they built the entire core around. If you thought that it was emotional when you got Javier Baez's return this year to Wrigley, you got Wilson Contreras' before, you got Chris Bryant's before. Imagine what it's going to be like, and I cannot wait because I will be there tomorrow. What the emotions will be tomorrow at the friendly confines, the federal landmark, when Anthony Rizzo comes back to Chicago, suiting up for another team. Sucks, but still pinstripes, still one of those traditional teams. Like, I feel like if he had to go to another team, New York just suits him perfectly. And I've come to the point where it's just like, man, it's going to be so good, so damn good to see him back in Chicago. I am pumped, to say the least. I've been waiting for this for a while. Boys, how we feeling? Anthony Rizzo back to Chicago tomorrow.
And I'm excited. I'm wondering, like, how long, okay, over under 2 minutes and 1 second. How long will Anthony Rizzo's standing ovation be for his first AB?
I'm not
over
sitting down.
Over under 2 minutes and 1 second.
Over. Yeah, over.
Think so?
Over.
Sure.
Dude, I would burn the fucking place to the ground for Anthony Rizzo.
I'm telling you, that place is going to be nuts. Dude. I'm excited too. I won't be there Friday, but I'll be there Saturday. We bought our tickets, maybe a month ago. And when I bought them, he hadn't even started his rehab yet. So I was a little nervous, but finally glad to see that he's back. He's healthy. And yeah, man, it's going to be awesome. I just remember when he first got called up. I want to say his first game was against the Mets, and just thinking, like, because I was left-handed. I played first base. We had that little stretch before he got called up of just really bad Cubs teams, and I was trying to find, Sosa was gone, and then Ramos Ramirez, Derek Lee, all them were gone. So I was trying to find a new favorite player. And when he first got called up, it was just like he could be the guy. Mm-hmm. And here we are. When was that? 2013? Was that 2013 he got called up, or 2014?
12, or 12. No, was he 2011?
Well, here it is 10 plus years later, and I've got his jersey on my back wall. Mm-hmm. I've got a dog named after him. You could go back. You could go through all the memories. The catch on the tarp. Obviously the World Series catch in Game 7. Using Matt Caesar's bat in the playoffs. Getting in the face of Aroldis Chapman. That's when I looked at him as the captain of this team, which was a disgrace that he never got the C on his chest. But when was it? Yeah, it was in Cincinnati, and just goes charging over to the Reds dugout, yelling at Aroldis Chapman, the biggest dude, one of the biggest dudes in baseball. One of the guy looks like he could. We know his history, but dude looks like he's a freaking kickboxing champion, and Anthony Rizzo just runs over there, gets in. That's when I knew that he's the captain. He is the captain of this team, and yeah, it's just gonna be awesome.
You don't fuck with his teammates.
No. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Me and the wife are going, and we are both excited.
Dude, man. So, Nick, how you feeling, man?
Dude, I'm so excited. I have such fond memories of Rizzo, and that whole time period was really foundational because I was becoming an adult. So I was also transferring of who's going to be my favorite Cub into adulthood and everything. So yeah, Rizzo had everything. He just screamed Cubs, like on the field, off the field. He just represented everything that you wanted for your organization. And he carried us. He carried the team many times when there was just the hope had seemed like it was gone. He was still there to just carry the team on his back. And, I'm just so excited. And I do think it's going to be well over 2 minutes for the ovation. I think they're going to keep doing it every time he goes up. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I'm sure they're not going to the umpire's not going to work it out so he can have that every time, but they're going to cheer every single time.
Oh, for sure.
Every time.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Nick, as far as like off the field, like the dude, class act, has a cancer survivor that has his own cancer foundation now that he does every year. As far as I know what they have the run that they do every year. That'd be awesome to do sometime. Have you guys seen that? Like he does, I believe it's a 5K run for his foundation.
I've seen that. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm glad you said that too, Nick. And I didn't want us to finish talking about that without saying, as far as off the field, not only we know how he is on the field, but off the field, just as great, if not better, off the field.
Yeah,
he's just a great person, man.
Yeah.
Just a great person.
Really is.
Clubhouse guy, off the field with the kids, everything. Like, first of all, Tyler, if we're gonna be doing a 5K or something to give to this charity, I got to cut down on these.
No, man, you're good. You're good.
Holding the beer right now, but this is a Yingling Oktoberfest, by the way, and that is in salute to Anthony Rizzo, who's basically Mr. Cubs October. I feel like crack him, by the way. I had to. This is the second one.
Which, real quick, there's a question going around on Twitter. I've seen people asking it. Mount Rushmore, obviously 4 people. Does Anthony Rizzo make the Cubs Mount Rushmore?
So he didn't make mine before, because I did this like a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He does now, 100%, dude. And I knew this was going to be the case. Like, he would have made my Mount Rushmore before he left the Cubs, but I did this like a while ago, and yeah, he's on there, man. Just everything he means to the Cubs and what he's done. And
I mean, he may have not. Yeah. You all know he didn't. He was never the. He never had. He didn't have the best stats as far as during his time when he played. Yeah, Chris Bryant maybe hit a few more home runs or whoever, but just his consistency and what he was to that team. I mean, he's got to be on that. He's got to be on the Mount Rushmore.
He's got it. I agree. He's on Mount Rushmore.
That's a good question though for later, like in another episode. We'll talk about who's the other 3 on the Mount.
I'll never forget his AB. It was the first game in 2021 when fans came back to the stadium. You guys remember that when they played St. Louis and he had it felt like a 15 pitch AB that ended with a home run against St. Louis, and cannot remember the pitcher's name. It was such a perfect picture. Like, Rizzo hit it. He's running down the line and I don't think it was Miles Michaelis, but
no, it wasn't.
Like, he's bent over, like with his head down, just like to feed it, and it was awesome. Oh, it was great. So great.
So I was working FedEx at the time. I was delivering, and I was listening to the game on I had my headphones in. The radio, you can't hear it. It's too loud. Everything, you're running all the time. But I got 670 to score on. Pat Hughes is calling the game. When the fans' full capacity came back, you could hear it through the radio, like when the crowd is going nuts.
Yeah.
The crowd build up the way Pat Hughes illustrated it with Ron. Like, I felt like, and I said this to someone who used to be on the show, Joe. I said this to him. I felt like I was at the game.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even watching the game, and I felt like I was there. Like, that at bat was incredible, man. So that's a good question too. Like, what's your favorite memory? Anthony Rizzo, what's your favorite memory of him in a Cubs uniform? Is that the one?
Not count. Let's take the World Series out of it. I mean, I think we can all agree the catch at the end of the game is probably number one.
That's the number one.
That's the statue. Number one. That's the statue they put.
Ball in the pocket.
Yeah. Number one memory.
Like, outside of that, yeah. It's tough to pinpoint just one, right?
It's
Like that's
really
a great
hard.
one you just said though, Tyler. That's a great one.
That 15 pitch AB has to be one. It's pretty close up there.
The tarp
It
catch
may-
for me. I
I
love
was
the
gonna.
tarp catch for sure.
the
He had
tarp
2 of
catch.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Just
first
casually
one was
walking
insane.
up like it's steps. Just
I mean, that's a side one would be. I mean, when he pitched, that was awesome.
Striking out Freddie Freeman.
Oh,
Striking out
yeah.
Freddie Freeman, that was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also, how cool is it that his first game back is a Friday 120? That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Had to
So it's
be.
perfect.
If they
It's
wrote the
set up for a
schedule any
perfect, like,
differently,
oh yeah. And this weekend, I checked the weather. Like, I think Saturday's a high of 65. Tomorrow's probably in the 70s.
I
It's
don't
gonna
even
be
know.
perfect. It's gonna be awesome. But maybe maybe he hits a home run. That'd be nice. But then after that, Chicago just puts another 12 spot on him like they did last night. So
I hope so, man. I hope it's 12-3 and Rizzo hits 3 home runs.
there you go. Yeah.
My favorite personal memory of him outside of the World Series and the ones that you guys mentioned, which are fantastic.
Oh, go ahead.
What happened? Did you lose
No,
the
no,
power?
go ahead because I do got my favorite memory.
Oh, okay. He had a 2 home run game at a game that I was at against the Giants, and I believe it was Matt Moore was pitching that day. But the 2 home run game, being that he was my favorite Cub, all throughout this entire, it was 2017, right after they won the World Series, and I'm not afraid to admit it. After the game, watching the guys walk back after the game, we kind of were hanging around Wrigley, watching them walk through the little tunnel area or whatever.
Yeah,
I got emotional, man. I got emotional because I was like, this is the team that did it. And right at the fucking very front of it was Anthony Rizzo, and he hits a 2 home run game. That was the first game I saw since they won the World Series in person, and personal favorite memory. But Tyler, what's your?
I forgot this may be my favorite personal memory. This ball right here, and if you can see it, I've got something wrote on it. The only thing I'm mad about is I wish I would have authenticated. So, May 18th, 2018, me and now wife, but girlfriend at the time, I took her to her very first Major League Baseball game. It was the Cubs at Cincinnati. It was just me and her and a friend of mine from work, and it was like a 2-hour rain delay. So half the stadium was empty. They finally played. We're sitting there watching the game. My buddy Chris got up to go get something to eat, and we're sitting there. Anthony Rizzo gets up. She knows I love Anthony Rizzo. She likes Anthony Rizzo because I like Anthony Rizzo. She's sitting there talking about him. And she's joking like, "Oh my gosh, look at him. Look at those legs. Oh gosh, yeah." And just kept going on and on. And I was just like, "Yeah, he's a good-looking guy, huh?" And next thing you know, foul ball. I've been to 100 baseball games and never caught a foul ball. Her first game, we're sitting there, foul ball. There's nobody around us, and I'm just watching it like, that's close. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Holy crap. And it's right on us. I go to catch it. It hits off my hand, bangs off the seat behind me, but there's nobody behind us. And I just turn around and grab it. I turn around and grab it. I handed it to her, and she gave it back to me later, maybe in a week or so later. But the only thing I wish is, which I'm never gonna. To most people, it's just a foul. It's just a ball that was fouled off in the game. But just the fact that who it was, Anthony Rizzo. That's probably one of my favorite. That's got to be, other than the World Series, probably that one. I know it sounds, you just hit a foul ball, but it just, and next thing you know, we get married 2 years later. So
it's fate.
Maybe it was Anthony Rizzo hitting us that ball.
Woo, he hits you guys.
That's what it was.
Dude, that's a good story, man. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. That's freaking awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, and you're being your only foul ball that you caught or first one. Like,
Never had caught a ball. Now, I think this year, what was it? This year I caught, I think, was it all us on opening day? I think it was opening day. We were sitting there talking football or something. And the next thing you know, like Juice is elbowing me and like there's a ball coming. And I was like, oh, yeah, about it. But yeah, but oh well.
that's awesome, man. But guys, really quick, I don't want to stop talking about Anthony Rizzo, but we do need to preview this series real fast. What's on tap? We have the Yankees, of course, Rizzo's new ball club coming to town. We don't even really need to preview it. We know we're just going to go over the matchups. Luis Gil versus Jordan Wicks on Friday. Clark Schmidt versus Javier Assad on Saturday. Garrett Cole and Jamison Tyon, the battle of the former teammates with two different teams, with the Pirates and with the Yankees. Boys, quickly, what do the Cubs have to do to pick up a series victory? Just squeak out 2 out of 3, possibly get a sweep here against this tough Yankees team.
Hit the crap out of the baseball and score a boatload of runs. A boatload of them. If you have any glimpse of hope, that's the only way.
I agree, 100%. You got to rely on the offense.
You're not going to scrape by
17 hits. Yeah, you're not. You got to just put up a bunch of runs.
And that may not even be enough because the Braves and the Mets could win, which, again, being 4 games back with 3.5 weeks left, but
and we're in this spot. So yeah, just beat the crap out of the ball. I like that mentality. Hopefully we can do it. Boys, any final thoughts before we go ahead and check on out of here? We got stuff to do and get some sleep. I got to
just a quick shout out. These last 2 weeks, PCA, Dansby Swanson, Saya, Ian Happ.
Yeah.
Those guys have been anchoring this offense for the past 2 weeks. We know Saya has been pretty consistent, has been pretty consistent. PCA has shown spots here and there, but like this last month for him has been dominant. It sucks talking about potential for next year, but it just goes to show if this guy can give you a full season of that would be awesome, especially if you mix it with a guy like, I don't know, Juan Soto, maybe this week as far as Chicago front office, treat Juan Soto just like he's one of your own. Give him his own locker room if you want to. Whatever you got to do, make his stay here at Wrigley Field Jed, give him the penthouse over at the Hotel Zachary, free breakfast, free
Chicago
brunch,
dogs for life.
lunch, dinner, whatever. Do whatever you got to do. But yeah, just PCA has been hot for the last month, and that would be an awesome 1-2 combo between them two and Dansby. It's nice to finally see Dansby hitting the ball. Great. Awesome.
Yeah. Got me a dinger pick or 2 this week.
Yes, he did.
I think maybe 2. Nick, what do you think?
It's funny you said that, Tyler. My final thought is to thank PCA for the dingers because I've been riding high on PCA.
Yes,
he
you have.
delivers a lot.
All year, man.
He delivers. Yeah. He just delivers. And I'm excited for his potential for next year. I mean, obviously right now is now, but looking ahead to, like you said, a full season, Tyler, it really gets you excited, especially with the wheels he has. If he could just get on base, oh man, it's going to be awesome.
If he can get on base and you get a thumper like Juan Soto, that would be.
One last thing to point out here. Prez, your cuz, Tony Marchese. Nick rocking the Paul Konerko beard is fantastic. Love to see it. What? Paul Konerko. We couldn't come up with a better name than that for the beard.
Paul Konerko.
Your Paul Konerko is he's coaching. Maybe he's just coaching Little League. I don't know. He's coaching somewhere. I don't know, but
obviously Tony's a White Sox fan, which
he's just upset because did Paul have the impact that Anthony Rizzo had not only on the team but on the city of Chicago as well? No. And whatever.
He did win a World Series with them, I think, but
nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares. It's a North Side town.
White Sox are gonna White Sox.
Yeah, what do they say? Like White Sox for life. I mean, we just throw the W up around here. That's the W for life. Hopefully, Anyways, guys, we got to check on out of here. But before we do that, quick shout out. Go ahead and check out all the content at ontapsportsnet.com. All Chicago sports related articles and podcasts. You can find all your favorite Chicago teams on the YouTube channel. We have coverage there at OnTap Sportsnet on YouTube. Go ahead and follow the X account at OnTap Sportsnet. Follow the Cubs account, Cubs on Tap account at Cubbies on Tap, CUBBIES on Tap, and follow the Dingers guys over there as well at Dinger Cubs on X and the Dingers podcast, because we are one of two official Cubs podcasts here at the OnTap Sports Network. The other guys that are normally on this show, Ron, usually leading the charge and does it in a much more efficient way than I do, but he's at Loose on Tap. You can also follow Juice at Juice on Tap. Follow to my right, at least on my screen, at Nick_on Tap to follow Nick. Tyler at TeddyFreddy270. Follow at Bulls Guy Rob and at Silent Bob _2. Those guys have been writing a lot of articles for the site and doing a great job, especially over there. So Cubs on Tap one more time. Tomorrow. Let's get it done. I'm just excited to see Anthony Rizzo in person again at Wrigley Field at the Friendly Confines. Boys, final thoughts. What do you say we get on out of here the only way we know how?
FTC, FTY, F the Braves, the Mets. Help us, God.
Let's go Cubs.
Let's go Cubs. Help us, God.
Yeah.